Good morning. My name's Wendy Rudd, the usual Friday Talking Cafe Live. And I'm very fortunate today to be joined by Claire Paul and Jane Birch, who are going to talk about support for small businesses. In my usual stance, I have a poem to read first, then I will introduce you to Jane and Claire. So, are you starting a new business and need advice? Somerset Business Agency can help in a trice. What do you do? How do you start? Digital marketing, now there's quite an art. What do you offer? How can you be found? Learn how to do this with the advice that's sound. Bookkeeping and invoicing, don't get in a mess. With our support and advice, you're on the road to success. And I will now introduce the ladies. So we have Claire and Jane. Good morning and thank you very, very much for joining us.
Good morning.
Okay. So Claire, if you'd like to start the ball rolling and tell us what support, what you do, what support's out there, etc. That'd be lovely.
Thank you very much, Wendy. Good morning, and good morning, Jane, too. Well, I gallivant around Somerset, hopefully supporting small businesses and supporting perhaps individuals who haven't yet started on their entrepreneurial journey. Of course, we've been presented with different challenges now, given the COVID situation. So I don't gallivant quite as much across Somerset. I just gallivant from one desk to another in my home, but hopefully still supporting everybody who's got either a business idea or has already started their own business and perhaps needs a little bit of further support, or is perhaps just got on their journey and come to a grinding halt.
So, and Jane is going to talk to us from a slightly different place, aren't you, Jane?
Yeah, slightly different, I guess. I work for Smart Communities, which is part of CCS, which is a charity that does the amazing work that Wendy and her team are involved in. But Smart Communities is actually a social enterprise that's owned wholly by the charity. And our role is to support community organisations across Somerset to thrive and develop well and serve their communities and meet their needs. So we offer support to social enterprises, which are a form of business that is they're about making profit, like any business is, but it's about what they do with that profit and how they're organised. It sort of sets them apart. So to give a couple of examples, people like Divine Chocolate, that's a very tasty version of a social enterprise. Places like the Brewhouse Theatre in Taunton, the Octagon, those are social enterprises, so bigger versions like that. But also down to your local village hall, your community-run shop. They're all forms of business. They're trading, and what they're doing has a social purpose. So those are the kind of businesses that we get involved with to support through our network and through our individual support. So sort of complement what Claire does. It's all about supporting our local community to do well and thrive, but in a slightly different sector. So yeah.
And of course, if I just come in, the Somerset Business Agency is a community interest company, and they work along the same line. And they support the same organisations as well, social enterprises and non-for-profits.
Yeah, which is great. So it means Somerset's got a lot of support out there, which is needed. So particularly at times like this, when all businesses, whatever type they are, have been hit by different challenges, to say the least, and need all the support they can get, really. So
if I ask the most basic of questions, so if I was thinking of starting up a business on my own, there is an awful lot of information out there. I guess the first question is, how do I start? What is it? Where do I need to begin?
That's sometimes the most difficult thing, isn't it? If we don't know where we're going, any direction will do. And of course, to embark on any journey, you need to take the first steps. I think for me, one of the most important things is to just get some clarity for yourself in the first place. Because if you're just starting on that journey, do you want to be do you want to be a social enterprise? Do you want to be a CIC, community interest company? Do you want to be a charitable organisation and set up? Would you like to be a limited company? Are you going to be a sole trader? So before you start, there's usually quite a lot of questions which form part of your business planning. And that can actually then help you decide and answer that question and hopefully take that first step.
I think that's right. It's kind of working out your plan of attack really, and where it's kind of, I think it's also knowing where doing a bit of research around what's if you're in whatever kind of business you're doing, who else is out there doing similar things, and what can you learn from what they're doing. In the community where I live, we set up a community-run cafe, and I was very lucky to be in the team that had to go and research cafes. So we went out and had coffee in lots of lovely places, and people are so good at sharing what's worked well for them and what hasn't, and that was really good part of forming our plan of what we did want to do and what we didn't want to do. And some people, we gleaned information from all those visits, as well as having some very nice cups of coffee and cake. So also a nice bit of research, that one. But I think that there's usually somebody doing something similar that you can either locally or using the internet anywhere that you can learn from, I think, which can really help you to get a good idea of where you want to go and what things you need to be thinking about in your plan, really.
Yeah, it's always a good idea to get your ducks in a row, quite literally, to start. Of course, some people find themselves unexpectedly in a business environment, and then they feel that they're sort of backpedaling to actually establish what it is that they want to do. But we should never be worried about that sort of thing, because where we start today might well be very different to where we go tomorrow, and that's part of the joy of either being an entrepreneur or owning your own business. I miss my cafe because that was my history and background is predominantly in the hospitality industry. So cafes are great.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, and I think when we were doing it, the purpose of doing it was we wanted somewhere in the village where people could meet, and that, we wanted somewhere about welcome and that it was affordable and all those things. We made sure we had our values kind of what we wanted it to be. We didn't want it to be a high class, high expense. We wanted it to be somewhere where everybody was welcome and everybody could afford to be, and that it was good quality, and all those, having those kind of values in place made sure that we kind of stuck to what we knew where we wanted to be, and we didn't deviate from that. So
and the nice thing as well about some of the small is we of course all feed into the economy in our own way. What you were saying there, Jane, about, and you of course can then get local produce perhaps from other local businesses that are near to the cafe that you've set up, both on the food and drink side. You perhaps use a local bookkeeper perhaps to help with the accounts of it. So it's all of these sorts of things. We're all adding value, aren't we, and benefit.
Absolutely, and I think the thing that I find when I've been on courses that have been run or webinars that have been put on, is you learn from other people what they're doing and making those local connections as well. If you're when we have our events for the Social Enterprise Network, it's harder now because things are online, but having those people to be able to know other people that they can talk to, you might be a local bookkeeper or they might know someone that is, building those relationships locally can really help you to be successful as well, really. So you're connected and people can then recommend you and that kind of thing. So
it's a great word, isn't it, really? But everybody knows that is networking. And yes, when you network around, you don't know how that's going to come back to you in terms of any. You hope that sort of subliminally your business name is out there in the marketplace and somebody will recall you or mention you and say, oh, do you know what? I was talking the other day to a wonderful woman called Jane and she said such and such and such and such. And then that's how the networking circle works, really. Great.
Absolutely, and I think that it's also making use of all the free resources that are out there. I know Somerset Business Agency put on lots of events and that are available for people to do, and so do the Southwest Growth Hub. They have lots of all kinds of webinars and presentations and things that you can dip into. One of my colleagues is doing one on she's doing one around marketing next week, around using MailChimp better. It's an hour of her time, and hopefully that will just make her much more efficient at doing that. So
support program is part of so Somerset Business Agency are one of the delivery partners of that. We're quite well that provides all sorts of free business support. Yeah,
so I think it's making most of those, isn't it, to increase your understanding as you develop. We're running as the Somerset Social Enterprise Network. We've got a number of webinars coming up following our programme of support. Some of those are focused on issues right now with financial problems and financial stability for social enterprises that they're facing right now, but also just about growth and development. And we ran one recently, which was really successful, around managing stress and supporting your team and that kind of thing, because a lot of people are struggling from that point of view with all the stress that we've all been under over the last few months. And again, it's just about kind of resilience and about helping the organisation to thrive, really. So kind of that side of it can be important too, I think, to make sure you're looking after yourself.
You hit the nail on the head there with the word resilience. Of course, 2020 has thrown all sorts of challenges in all sorts of different ways for many, many people. And that, of course, has been not only from the business perspective of existing businesses having to really adapt in new ways, and new. That was difficult. But the homeschooling, etc., situation has meant that some people have been looking at the way they operate their daily lives and have really decided that they're going to start their own businesses because of this situation. So, we've all been terribly resilient.
We did lose you a little bit there, Claire. You are freezing on us occasionally. Are you finding the same, Jane?
Yeah. It's the wonderful Somerset broadband coming into play here. So it's never quite that brilliant, is it? So
just to remind everybody that we, if we do miss things, we do have the comments to the side. Questions can be asked, and if it does freeze for you and you want something to be repeated, just pop it up in the comments box. We'll pick it up and we can sort that all out for you. Okay, so sorry, where were we? We talked about the resilience and everything, and finances. So there's obviously going to be, as you say, there is a lot of free webinars. There will also be paid courses that people may find they need, or routes they need to go down, but they don't have the funding for. So I guess that brings us nicely on to sort of what is available for people. Where do they go to look for these?
Well,
do you want to start there from
I'm happy to start off.
Yeah.
One of the really good places to find the information of support that we have seen during COVID is, of course, the site. There is a whole site dedicated to the business support that has come through. So there's been the business rates 10,000 grant, there's been the hospitality 25,000 grant. But that's where you'll find and essentially keep your ear to the ground on information as new support becomes available. And another great place to keep an eye on these things is looking at organisations like the Somerset Chamber of Commerce or the Federation of Small Businesses, because again, they have quite good PR teams behind them. So they're constantly looking and essentially doing a bit of the legwork for you as a small business owner. You can then keep your eye on their websites or their Twitter feed and the details. There was discretionary grant that came from the local authorities. But if you weren't, as part of your business planning, a little bit of time to look for these sorts of resources, them. The window of opportunity for submission of grant is usually quite small. So the more you can be up together on knowing what's coming further down the line, the bigger the chance of actually being successful on attaining some of that support.
Absolutely, and I think that's key. So we have a social enterprise. We have a social enterprise bulletin that goes out regularly with information about all those kind of the grants that are available for that sector, and and key events and things that they could be making use of. But we also have a specific membership within CCS for community buildings, and they have a specific newsletter that goes out, and we have 2 members of our team who can offer one-to-one support for those community buildings, because we've been having a really tough time. They're run by volunteer committees, and up to now, I mean, they obviously have issues sometimes now, but it's been a fairly regular organisation, and all of a sudden, their bookings have fallen away and their costs have increased because there's much more cleaning and things involved. And if you've got a group that used to meet with a hall full of people, now they've only have a small number. The finances of it are very difficult. So if anybody who's listening to this is running a community building, then please get in touch. Sally Sargent is our community buildings officer, and she'd be only too happy to help people to get the support that they need to keep those facilities going. What would we do in our villages without somewhere where we can meet, or have events, or have our Keep Fit or Brownie group or whatever is happening? Those are vital facilities, and we want to keep them there until we can use them fully again, really. And a lot of them are trying to do things in the meantime to make sure that they're still able to offer what we can. But it's if there are people that are struggling, then please get in touch.
Yeah.
That would be great.
You're right. I don't know if it was just me on that one, but that particular section was a little bit stop-start.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, and all the links are coming up in the comments. So Davies, our wingman, is now on board, and as you are talking about them, if they haven't caught the wording, if they'd like to look into the comments box, all the links are now coming in for all the different. So we've got Somerset Chamber, the Business Agency, gov.uk with live events. So they fortunately now can also pick it up from there. So yeah, as you say, we are experiencing Somerset connections with the internet.
Yeah, and I think the main thing from what I was saying was that if people have got problems with their community buildings, to contact CCS, and we'll do our best to help them. That was the essence of it, really. In all my waffle, that was the main point, really. That we'll do our best to help.
Great support available.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to keep doing what we can, isn't it? Really. So
yeah. A lot of the time, people don't.
Oh.
We just need to.
Claire, I don't know if you can hear us, but you were totally silent there. So we actually missed the beginning. So maybe we'll sort of rewind and start that one again. I think we actually missed far too much on that one.
Yeah.
I was just saying that there's a surprising amount of support out there available for everybody. As long as they just pick up the phone or pick up an email or somehow make contact, you'd be surprised how much support is actually there.
I think so, and I think it's about, if you spoke to us, if what you were needing was something that was from SBA or from an organisation, we're well connected, and I know you guys will be as well, to be able to signpost people on, or give them good people they need to speak to. So it's making contact somewhere is the key thing, really, and in getting connected and signing up to newsletters and that kind of thing. So make sure you're getting all you can to help people through at this time, or to start something entirely new if that's what they want to do.
I'm wearing something yellow today for a specific reason, but I wonder, shall I turn my camera off, which may improve the situation a little bit with the bandwidth?
Whether or not let's have a play and see how we can still hear you. If you want to
go for it. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can. Yeah, that might be better.
Maybe.
So
problem, isn't it, in Somerset? Well, probably lots of places, but
so hopefully what we've done now is we have given a central point for anybody with small businesses, with a small business or looking to start one, to start their journey. As you rightly were saying, that is the main point, and the main thing that somebody needs to know is, where do I go? Where do I start? Can you think of anything else that we need to sort of include?
Well, I was thinking one area of small businesses which is growing in Somerset is micro providers. They're providers of care and support to people in their homes, and they're usually one man, one woman bands doing that in their local community, and that could be, we'll be able to tell you more of the kind of things they do, but it's personal care, it could be gardening, it could be taking people places, but they're an invaluable service, aren't they, Wendy?
Well, village agents, community agents, home first agents, all of us could not do our job without the micro providers, to be fair. They are the new small business, as it were, the face of the new small business that is helping the whole of the community invaluably. So yes.
If people want to start as a micro provider, you don't have to have a background in care. You just have to have the right attitude and the right can-do and caring attitude, I think. And there are weekly startup webinars that you can attend. There's a chap called Rhys Davies who works at the county council who runs those. So you can make contact with him or come through to CCS and we can put you in the right direction. But it's a simple process to set up, and they will lead you through the process so you can get going and help your community.
And as you were saying, it's not the term care is a very broad use of the term, because it doesn't have to be hands-on personal care. There are a lot of people that just need the befriending, support, the everyday, the shopping, the cleaning. So as you say, people tend to think, oh, I'm not a carer, but it's not that sort of carer.
No, and it can be providing meals for people as well, can't it? It can be a very broad range, comes under the micro provider label, but it's about your own business, working in your local communities, reducing the travelling that you're doing, and supporting people there to live happily in their own homes, basically, isn't it? So that's it'd be great if that's something you'd like to do, to go through that process, or to find out more, really, if it is to do.
It's not made any difference to me turning the video, but I was just there as well, Jane, if I may, and because as well, things like transport and anything like more, sometimes if we're able, take for granted, others may not be able to achieve. So definitely looking at those micro providers is really good forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's that flexible support in people where people are living, and not, care agencies not travelling. They're appropriate in some cases, but they're obviously travelling around the country a lot. And at the moment, that's necessarily possible or a great idea. So the more provision we can have locally, and more flexible provision, the better, really, I think.
Yeah, and also with the travelling part, apart from the carbon footprint, it's also about when the weather comes in the winter too, as has been proven over the years. If the carer is having to travel in, it's not always possible to get access. Whereas if it's somebody that's very local, in the worst kind of weather, they can probably walk to your front door.
Yeah.
So it keeps things, so not only is it local, but it's very local in some cases.
Yeah, and I think particularly with the weather or with flooding or whatever might come along, being able to do things where people are living just makes it better. And also, I guess if you're a local carer, you're connected as well into your community, so you'll be able to refer them to other things that are available locally as well. So that's quite. I think it's a really exciting thing to be able to do in Somerset, to be able to set up in that way, and the support's there to do it or to explore it if that's something you want to do. So yeah, that's a bit of a plug for them.
Which is always good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Communities will have a newsletter as well, so it's always a great idea to contact whoever the letters, publications, and you can also put your offering in there usually, and you'd be surprised how far that will reach.
Yeah, really, really good ways to reach people, aren't they? And also community Facebook pages and that kind of thing as well can be really a good way to find out what's going on and connect as well. So yeah, it could be really helpful. So yeah, it's making the most of these opportunities.
That again highlighted the push towards everything being digital and our digital footprint, and how we can maximize our advertising really of our offering through some of these platforms. Not everybody enjoys it or even wants to be part of it, but you have to try and separate out the personal from the business tool, if you like, when you're thinking about digital marketing or social media marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just to say, if people would like to join the Social Enterprise Network, it's a free membership to join. And if you go onto the CCS website, I guess it's probably going to come up on the bottom. That's which is ccslovesomerset.org.uk. You can join the network, and then you can get then you'll be getting the newsletter and all the information that we talked about earlier. So we've got about 170 members at the moment, and it's we had another one the other day, and it's growing all the time. So it's there and it's free and it's available. So if it's helpful to people to join, then please do.
It's great having Dave, isn't it? It's like a little online person who's just popping up all these links.
It's very little pixie.
Dave is my right arm. He makes it very simple. It almost feels like a real professional broadcaster because there's somebody doing things in the wings.
It does help, doesn't it?
It really does, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay.
So do you think we've covered most of the areas now, or is there a parting shot, as it were?
Well, I'm happy to take any questions, if there are any, about anything to do with anything, really. Because if I can't answer them, I hopefully know somebody who can. Oh, there we go. Another FSB link. Thank you, Dave.
Right. Well, looking at the screen I've got does monitoring, and I don't know that there's going to be many questions coming up right now. The blessing with this is all of those people that are busy at work will be viewing this later on. And they can still pop all of their questions up, and we will get them to the right people so that they are answered. It will be monitored. We've had living proof that we're live by all of the interruptions and the freezes, which is so. Looking at this now, I have a video that's going to be played from the Oval Chambers. Again, we people that work for CCS do get fingers in all pies. We have Kath, who is a community agent for one of her hats, going to give you a little 3-minute chat. But firstly, I would like to thank Jane and Claire very much for taking the time and talking to everybody about the small business, especially as it was pretty much a sort of a put together last minute for us. It really is a great big thank you from me.
That's okay. Nice to be here.
Okay. Thank you very much. And so now I will say my goodbyes to both of you and see if Dave is listening. Here goes. We love live broadcasting. Thank you, ladies. Hi, Dave. Talking to Mr. Invisible, I would like to now show you a recording, as Kathy's unable to be here with us today, that she did earlier. Let's have a look. Here we go. Now I'm having no sound again. Sorry for those of you that didn't get any sound. We will edit, as it were, I suppose, before we put it back up again. And you will be getting the sound on playback. It leaves me now just to say thank you very, very much for watching this broadcast, and to say goodbye. And I will see you next. Oh, no, I'm not on next Friday, actually. Next Friday is going to be about flu injections. So I will see you anon, as it were. Thank you very much and goodbye.